Hey everyone, Ampro Engineering here. I wanted to go over a bit of an obsession that I have. I don't know why this happens to be the case, but I really like putting lighting on, well, I guess pretty much anything. In this case here, we're focusing on RC cars, in particular the Tamiya Ford F-150 body. Unfortunately, this body was really never equipped with any kind of lighting, as we can tell by the grille. Okay, so we've got the headlights, the turn signals, and they're just one molded piece of plastic. Later on, we had the King Blackfoot, which did have a lens over a headlight bucket, so you could illuminate it. What I've done is I've created lenses that will go in place of the molded plastic ones. You do have to cut them out, as well as a headlight bucket that glues to the backside of the grille assembly, and then it has a couple of retainers for LEDs. The top LED is a 5mm, the lower one is a 3mm. Okay, and that exists on both sides of the grille. However, it just wouldn't be complete if we didn't have taillights as well. So the challenge here was that these taillights are a bit on the small side. So I did not want to take that away. I wanted to make sure that we did have the factory looking taillights, but we had to also put in some LEDs. Now the profile of this taillight is exactly the same as the factory one. However, the depth is how I got away with putting in these LEDs. It is roughly twice the thickness of the factory ones. However, it actually becomes a bit more scale, as real Ford F-150s with this, I believe it's called the flare side bed, would have a taillight of about this proportion. The neat part about it is the LEDs, and if you look at it kind of closely here, you'll notice that there's not a LED or wire or really anything to be seen. Everything is completely embedded. All of these upgrades were created quite some time ago, so although I can't actually do a build video, what I will do is narrate a number of photographs that I took during the build to better illustrate how to install all these components. This is less a RC related project and more a modeling related project. If you're great with being very careful to make very precise cuts and taking your time and a bit of soldering skills, this is not that big of an operation. So let's take a look at how it works. Now, in terms of wiring, that is something that you're going to have to handle yourself. What I did is I bought one of these really inexpensive lighting kits on eBay. I think it was like $8 or $9. And it works reasonably well. It does a weird thing with the headlights, and I'll show you that in a second. More importantly, let's see what it does when you hit the turn signals. Okay, so let's go ahead and turn left, turn right. Okay, and same thing with the rear. Now what I'd like to illustrate with the taillights is normally you would have a tail/brake light in this region here, and then you'd have the reverse light in the upper section. Now I did have to kind of bend the rules a little bit. This truck does not have reverse, so what I did instead is I have wired it so that this is a tail and brake light. Above it, the reverse light is going to be used as a turn signal. So let's go ahead and accelerate. You see that really nothing is happening with the light color. Now I'm going to hit the brakes. Okay, and they illuminate. Now let's go ahead and make a right turn. It is a little bit difficult to see. The bleed from the top to the bottom section is very minimal. The reason for this is that the top section and the bottom section are in fact separated by nylon. This is a, I believe this is a polycarbonate lens, and the enclosure is nylon. Now, that's not where we have stopped. If we turn this to the right, you'll notice that the side marker also illuminates. Now, this was simply a result of how the LEDs are embedded into the taillight. They come in through the through the side of the enclosure here, and the two legs, the anode and the cathode of the LED, protrude into the body. So it's a nice tidy setup, and it gives you, I think, a reasonable scale looking example of what you should have on this particular type of pickup truck. So let's try and accelerate again and hit the brakes. There we go. Now I'll go ahead and show you what I've done here. Now this truck's got a lot going on. Your first thought is probably that's the wrong body for that chassis, and you'd be right. First things first, this is kind of a prototype, so I do apologize, the rat's nest underneath the body shell, but I'm actually still actively working on this particular car. So taking a look at how the bucket mounts to the back of the grill. Once I cut out the lenses in the factory grill, this simply pops right on. The lenses, the headlight and turn signal are attached to this piece here and protrude through the front to give it that flush look, and then you simply bond these two together using a nice model glue. The gray adapter right here is simply a mechanical way to keep the LEDs in place. Again, the bottom is a 3mm, the top is a 5mm. At the rear, you can see things are a bit tidier. So what's going on here is we have two LEDs, both 3mm LEDs. The lower one is a red one and the top one is a white one. These were cut off of the wiring that came with that control box that you saw, and I simply then used a couple of very inexpensive LEDs to push the anode and the cathode, which are the two legs of the LED. I pushed them through a couple of holes, which we'll illustrate in images shortly. You simply mount the taillight to the body using this one screw right here, and you thread into the nylon body. Now that you've seen the end result of this lighting kit, let's go ahead and go over some of the images, and I'll talk about how this is actually installed. This is the kit that you will receive. The top are the headlight buckets, followed by the taillight lenses, headlight lenses, LED retainers for the headlights, and the housings for the taillights. So here we can see the original grille and what you're going to install. Step one, you're going to have to very carefully cut out the headlight and turn signal lenses inside of the little trim molding. You can see we've got both sides all ready here. And then we're going to test fit, and after we've painted the headlight and the turn signal, they mount from the rear. There is a flange that we see here, and that flange will glue to the grill. Place the bucket over it, install your LEDs in the retainer, and you're all set. Taillight buckets, you're going to go ahead and paint, so they're opaque. Make sure that you do paint the lenses as well with some kind of a translucent paint. I'm sure you're going to be better at it than I am. We're going to go ahead and install our 3mm LEDs and then prep the body by chopping off the taillight. I know it's going to hurt. And then drilling 3 holes, 2 for the LEDs and 1 for the screw that holds it in. Once you have got the LED legs out, screw in the taillight and power it up. This whole job does take a lot of care, but take your time and you're going to get some awesome results. I really hope everybody enjoyed the video. If you have any questions, please go ahead and leave a comment and I'll do my best to answer whatever that question may be. Please add me on Instagram at amproengineering and like me on Facebook at amproengineering as well. There are links to both of those in the description, as well as my Shapeways storefront where you can find all of these products. Thank you very much.